We all want more confidence. I don't know anyone who doesn't want more confidence. How do we actually build real confidence? There's a lot of people in the personal development field who put a lot of content out there. And I would say that most of what they're saying about confidence and how to build confidence is just bad advice. It may give you that temporary fix. It may make you feel good in the moment, but soon thereafter, it's like it goes away. That sense of confidence, whatever you built up, just falls away. A lot of the way people talk about it, it's this thing that kind of floats around in the ether. And every once in a while, you get blessed with a little confidence. Like I call it the confidence fairy. The fairy sprinkles some dust on you and suddenly you're more confident. Now, that sounds really silly, but that is, when I hear people talk about confidence, that's kind of the way that they talk about it. Like it's not something that they were able to put their hands around. They don't really understand where it comes from. That makes things feel even less certain. And that's what I'm getting at with confidence. That confidence is about feeling a certainty about something. The more you know something, the more confident you feel about it. You might say, oh, well, that's not the kind of confidence that when I'm thinking about confidence. And I understand that. A lot of people think about confidence as they hear trumpets while they're walking and they're strutting and they have this confident walk and they're slapping their chest and running around on a stage or getting all excited. That's not really what confidence is. That's not true confidence. That is a heightened state. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. That can be fun, but that's not going to give you that true lasting confidence. That's just putting yourself in a heightened state, which will pass because all states pass. What I'm talking about is the true self-confidence that is unwavering, that you can fail at something and you still have confidence to go forward, to make whatever corrections you need to make and keep going forward. That's the kind of confidence that's real. That's the kind of confidence that you want. And that only comes from being very certain about who you are. How do we do that? How do we become certain about who we are? Let's back up a little bit and let's talk about how the connection with competence and confidence. So when you feel competent at something, then you feel confident at it, right? And how we feel competence in something is how much experience we have with it. And that goes back to what I was saying about certainty. You have a lot of experience doing something. That means you have more certainty about it. And that gives you the sense of having competence, which gives you confidence. Easy one is driving a car. When you first started driving a car, you weren't competent, so you weren't very confident about it. You're probably really concerned about making sure that you do everything correctly. And then as you practice, as you got familiar with driving a car, you built the competence. And then as you became more competent, you became more confident to the point now that you probably drive to work and don't even remember driving there because you're thinking about other things. That's how confident you are about driving. That's real confidence. That's that unwavering confidence. And even if you got into a car accident and it was your fault, you would still eventually get back on the road and drive the car. You had a failure, but you're still competent at driving, and therefore you're confident at it, so you get back out there and you do it again. That's the kind of confidence we want, the kind of confidence that gets you back out there no matter how many times you fail. And that comes with knowing what you're confident at and being certain about who you are. So there's levels of how competence and confidence interact with each other, and they're very important to understand. So the first one is low competence, low confidence. This is the learner state. This is that open-mindedness state. When you step into a situation where you want to learn something, you want to become competent at something, but you are not competent at it. So your confidence in it isn't very high. Now, this is not a bad thing. This is actually a good thing because this enables you to learn. You don't know, and you know that you don't know. Your mind is open, and this is a good thing. Then there's high competence, high confidence. Just like low competence and low confidence, the two match each other. The same happens when you have high competence and high confidence. This works well together also because they match each other. The confidence matches the competence. And this is where we want to get to in anything that we're doing that's important to us, okay? Because when you're competent and you know it, you're confident. And because you're confident, then you're going to take action. You're going to do things. When you fail or you make a mistake or something is incorrect, you still know that you're competent and you still feel that confidence. So you just make the correction and you keep going. You don't suddenly think, oh, I'm terrible at this, I'm not competent at it, and your confidence goes away. No, it sticks. You know, you have that certainty that you are competent at it. so the confidence stays steady. As anybody who's had successes in their life knows, success is just basically a string of failures until you found something that worked. That's all it really is. I don't know anyone who has succeeded a lot in life without having more failures in that process of getting those successes. So the failures are inevitable. It's how you navigate that failure, which is going to make all the difference. If you know that you're competent, you feel certain about that, you're going to feel confident. And when you fail, you just know, okay, this is just an opportunity. This is a learning. All I need to do is find out what went wrong here and make the course correction. But somebody of low confidence is not going to even get that far. Now, the third level is high competence, low confidence. And this is probably where most of you are at. This is probably where most of the population of the world is at. You do have competence, you just don't feel confident about it. So what's going on there? Does that mean that you need to go out there and get more experience and build up your competence even more? Well, no, because we've already said that you're already competent. So what's happening here? And this is where NLP is amazing. It's not the content of your experiences that tells you how to feel about your experiences. It's the way you structure that information. So if I am competent, that means I have the experiences, I've had enough practice at something to be competent. But something is happening where there's a disconnect between that and the certainty that I feel about it, which then makes me confident. It's reorganizing the content of your experiences, that information, reorganizing it in such a way that you do feel certain about it. And when you feel certain about it, you're automatically going to feel confident about it. So if you're of high competence but low confidence, this is not an issue that takes time to fix. It literally can be fixed in one session, one-on-one coaching session. And that's how powerful NLP is. Because once we understand the structure of what's happening, then all we need to do is change that structure. All we need to do is take something you're competent at and confident about, find out how you're structuring that information, how are you structuring those representations inside your mind, and then take that structure and map it across to the other areas where you want to feel confident about, that you know that you have competence in. The final one, the low competence, high confidence. This is not where you want to be. These people tend to be very annoying. This mostly what I find that's being promoted here on YouTube or in personal development is exactly this. Oh, just fake the confidence first, even if you don't have the competence, and somehow magically fake confidence will turn into real confidence. That doesn't work that way. I assure you, fake confidence cannot turn into real confidence. Fake confidence is pretending that you're competent at something, whereas real confidence is a knowing that you are competent, a certainty about that. You can't fake being certain about something. You can pretend, but that's not real. So, for example, I can pretend I'm a billionaire, then I can feel confident and rich, and I can go out and just blow a bunch of money, but I don't really have billions of dollars in the bank. So I'm going to make myself go broke. It's not real. But I see this being promoted so much, this fake it till you make it kind of thing. Fake it till you make it only works if you're using what we call the as-if frame in NLP. If you think in terms of what would it be like if I was already there, that I had already accomplished what I wanted. What information does that give me when I think about it that way? You're employing your imagination to put yourself in the situation where you've already gotten what you want. That can give you some very useful information, but you still have to come back to reality and realize that you're not there yet. And if you pretended that you were there already and you really convinced yourself of that, you would have lost all the motivation to actually go out and do it because you already feel like you've gotten it. Same thing with confidence. If you've deluded yourself into believing you already have the competence when you really don't, then what is the point in actually going out there and actually becoming competent and therefore truly confident, right? For example, if I want to be a doctor, I just started med school and I've already convinced myself that I'm a celebrated surgeon. What would be the motivation for me to actually go out there and practice the craft and do surgeries? I'm trying to get clients. They say, okay, well, how many surgeries have you actually performed? Well, 0. But I'm very confident. I can do it. I would never submit myself to a surgery from someone who'd had no experience but was very confident about it. Anything that can cause a danger to someone, themselves or someone else. Would you fly in an airplane with a pilot who had only had one lesson, but they were very, very confident about themselves, very confident about flying airplanes? I would not. Confidence does not create competence. Competence creates confidence. And you can't skip past that step, which a lot of people try to do. They want to just be confident at something before they actually get any competence or practice doing it. There's no shortcuts to building competence. What most people are experiencing right now is they do have the competence, but they have very low confidence. And I think what a lot of people feel within themselves, and this is where self-concept is really important, they don't feel confident about themselves. What is that competency then that they need to connect with? Because, there's all different types of competencies, right? You can be competent at one thing and be incompetent at something else, but that doesn't mean you should be overall lacking in self-confidence. For example, let's say, I am not very confident about my ability to ride a bucking bronco in a rodeo. But that doesn't make me feel like I lack confidence as a person. What gives us that self-confidence? Because there's always going to be things that we're not competent at, right? I mean, that's just normal. What gives you that self-confidence is when you believe you are what you value. If I have values and I'm aware of those values, and I believe I embody those values as qualities of who I am, I'm going to experience rock solid self-confidence. Not only that, I'm going to experience a lot of self-esteem as a result as well. That's what creates self-esteem. When your behavior aligns with your values, you will experience self-esteem. If you value success, and I'm not even talking about achieving a goal yet, I'm just talking about taking steps and actions that align with being a successful person or eventually succeeding at something, just that alone will raise your self-esteem. You don't actually have to wait until you achieve something, because that's what a lot of people do. They hold that out. The standard is, I must achieve this, and if I don't, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. Stop all that talk right now. What creates motivation is knowing what your values are, acting in alignment with those values. You will feel the motivation, you will feel self-esteem, which is very motivating, and you will feel more confident about who you are. We take this to a much deeper degree when we take the self-concept model and we use that to create certainty about qualities that you value. Success is a value. It's also a quality. You can value success, but if you value success and you don't believe you are successful, your self-esteem is going to take a hit. You're not going to feel very confident about that. If you don't feel very confident about that, about being successful, you're less likely to take chances, take risks, take advantage of opportunities. You're less likely to even be able to see the opportunities to begin with. But if you believed you were a successful person, you felt certain about that, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you believe you are successful, you will look for opportunities to be successful. You will take action on those opportunities, which will eventually create success, just confirms what you already believe about yourself. You might be saying, well, wait a minute, didn't you just say you can't, don't use fake it till you make it? Yes, trust me, no matter how old you are, you have lived long enough to have experienced enough success to use those successes to build a sense of self that you are a successful person. What we tend to do is overlook all the things that we do to support the qualities that we value. Another thing, so this is what I was mentioning before, that you can always be confident about because you already are competent at, and that is being a learner. You are a competent learner. You might think of all the things that you struggled with to learn. You're looking in the wrong direction. Look in the direction of all the things you've learned in your life. You have learned so much. You've learned a language without even trying. You learned how to walk without ever setting a goal. Look to those things and realize that you have been a lifelong learner, a competent lifelong learner. That doesn't mean that you've learned everything you've ever tried. Some things, are more difficult than others, but you have been a lifelong learner, a successful lifelong learner. That you can be confident about because you are competent at it. When people want to jump past the competency part and go straight to confidence, which I understand why, because confidence feels good. If you try to jump past that competence part, you're just faking it. That doesn't feel good, and that fake confidence will fall away anytime your competence is challenged. Instead of doing that, know that the confidence comes from the competence and check in. Do you already have the competence? Are you overlooking your own competence? Like I said, one thing I know for sure about all of you is that you are competent learners. It doesn't matter if you've had a learning disability or you have dyslexia, you have found ways around that and have found ways to learn still. That should reinforce it even more. When it comes to doing things you've never done before, you think, well, I need the confidence first. Well, that's not going to happen, right? Because you need competence before you have the confidence. You might be wondering, well, how do I venture into that unknown territory? By being confident about your competence as a learner. If you take the time, put the attention on anything, you can learn how to do it. That's where your confidence should come from whenever you're facing unknowns. You can say, all right, Damon, I understand. I've succeeded in a lot of ways, small ways and medium ways, but I want to succeed in this thing that I've never done before. You're lacking the confidence to do it because you've never done it before. Fall back on your competence as a learner, and that will give you the confidence. It's going to be very uncomfortable because you don't know what you're doing. Just know that you can learn this. You can do it. These are all things that all of you can learn. In fact, it's much more intuitive than you might even realize, because all NLP is it's really just coding what you naturally do anyway. The natural structures you're using to create your thoughts, your experiences, your beliefs. All NLP really is bringing that structure into your awareness, restructuring things in order to suit you the best, to optimize who you are. We can do a lot of these things externally about getting out there and achieving goals. But like I said, the best place to start is with you, your self-concept. It's about reorganizing the information so that your confidence matches your competence, restructuring that, and then you will feel the change. You will feel the shift. You go off into the world, seeing new opportunities and executing on them.
If you want to take an even deeper dive on understanding confidence, check out this next video.